Breaking the sub 3 hour marathon barrier is something that so many runners set out to do. It sounds simple, but it's not easy. In fact, only a small percentage of runners each year achieve that mark. So the real question is it achievable, is it realistic, or am I being too ambitious? Because behind that number, it's the early mornings, it's the runs where you have no motivation, it's the winter training, it's the late nights, and it's lots of moments where you question why you ever even started in the first place. In late 2024, I ran my first marathon in 4 hours and 5 minutes. 1 year later, in late 2025, I ran a 2:57 marathon. How did I do that? Well, let's talk about it. Now, one thing to note is that I did not come from any elite running background, no distance training whatsoever. All I did was play some basketball and go to the gym. And then in September 2023, I decided I need to get my cardio up and I decided to start running. 2 months later, I signed up for a marathon, and to be honest, I'm not sure why I did. I think I just wanted to set a goal so that I could work towards something. I decided to go all in from 0 to 100, and was that a stupid decision? So 2024 rolls around and I set myself up an 18-week training plan to train for Melbourne Marathon in October 2024. And I decided to set a goal of sub 3 hours and 30 minutes, which is extremely ambitious. That is a 4-minute 58 per kilometer. So that was going to be hard, especially coming from no running background at all. Now, looking back, that was extremely stupid of me because the reality was my training was a complete mess. By week 4, I got injured. From weeks 5 to 13, I barely ran more than 20 Ks, some weeks less than 20 Ks as well. My longest run, 17 Ks at an easy pace of 6 minutes 10. I didn't practice fueling enough, I didn't practice the mileage, I didn't build the mileage. I didn't really understand what the marathon demanded from your body and from your mental. So race day rolls around and I was kind of nervous, I didn't know what to expect, and I went out way too fast, as many beginner runners do. I made that big mistake. And I was running well under pace, which is not a good thing in a marathon, which is 42 Ks, which is a long time, right? And I have my Strava up here on my computer. By 25K mark, by the 25th K mark, I was already falling apart. I was running a pace of 6:15 per K and everything went downhill. 6:15 per K in the 25th K, and I was meant to be running a 4:58, a sub 5. Yeah. And by the 30 kilometer mark, which is when the real marathon starts, if you've ever ran a marathon, you would have heard that, it was completely over. I was cramping, I was walking, I was completely empty, I was dead. I did not know what to do. It was completely hopeless and it was just embarrassing, I won't lie. It was completely and utterly embarrassing. Now, that day in October last year wasn't just hard. It wasn't just a reality check, but it was a humbling experience. It was a humbling day for myself. Now, on that day, I finished the race in 4 hours and 5 minutes and 52 seconds, and that is an average pace of 5 minutes 50 per kilometer. Now remember, that is just an average, so it doesn't reflect what is truly going on during the race. And remember, I said I set a goal of sub 3:30, which is 4:58 per K, and I ran over a minute slower. And in the days after, I remember telling people about the race because they would obviously ask me, and it just felt like shame. Like I had built this identity of running, around running at least, and I couldn't back it up when it mattered. There is no denying that. It was one of the worst feelings in the world. I won't lie at all, sorry. I had this whole account, this Strava runs account, and yes, finishing a marathon is an achievement in itself, but for me, I knew I was capable of much more, right? I hadn't respected the distance properly, I hadn't prepared properly, my nutrition, my fueling, my training, and it was disaster. It was humbling, it was embarrassing, I felt shame. So then I made another decision. I made the decision to do it all again, to run another 42.2 kilometers. But this time I was setting an even greater goal, supposedly an insane goal for someone who has just got into running and was still a new, immature, inexperienced runner. I had set the goal of breaking sub 3 hours. And this was a massive goal, but something in me believed that this could happen. And something in me believed that it was possible, not overnight and not by guessing and not by lack of preparation, but by doing things properly, by respecting the distance and humbling myself and training correctly. So I gave myself 1 year, 2025 Melbourne Marathon, 1 year after, to redeem myself, and I started all over again. But this time things were different. I trained with intent. In week 1 of Melbourne Marathon training, my 11-week training block, I ran 68 kilometers. That's more than my peak week was in my previous training block. Now, of course, my expectations were met by reality once again. I had planned an 96k peak week in this 11-week training block, but my peak was only 82ks. So once again, expectation was met by a harsh and humbling reality. But although that happened, although I was humbled once again in my training plan, things were still different from a year prior to that. I had been consistent, I had hit my key workouts, I had showed up for my long runs, and those long runs, they built confidence. I have it noted down here that 2 weeks out, I ran a 35k long run at a 4:50 pace. That was 2 weeks out. And a year ago, I hadn't even run that distance at all, or nowhere near that. Now, of course, a few key things had changed. First, my training structure had changed. I wasn't just running, I had purpose, a great purpose behind each session. I had a much better training structure, much better pacing, much better discipline, not just in running, but outside of running. To me, this was a goal that was so big and that I had put so much work into it that I was gonna make sure I could do what I need to do to achieve that goal, right? Half of success is preparation, and if you're not setting yourself up to succeed, you're setting yourself up to failure. And I did not want to fail again because I could just remember how 2024 or 2023 Melbourne Marathon felt. I felt like ashamed. I was a massive failure in my eyes. And continuing on in this training, I learned to hold back in my training. I learned to respect the pace because the marathon, what I realized is it punishes your ego. If you have an ego, especially in the lack of preparation, you will get punished and the distance will expose you. The race will expose you. The marathon is not an easy feat in itself, but running a sub 3 is even harder, right? Third, I fixed my fueling. I actually practiced it. I understood what my body needed, not just during my runs, but pre-runs, post-runs. And potentially the biggest thing that I changed, if you've been following along on Instagram or talk to me in real life about running, you will know that one of the biggest things that I will continue going on and on and on about is your mindset in running. If you want to achieve big things in running, if you want to achieve your goals and run fast times or run long distances, you have to have a strong mindset. And of course, your mindset will be wavering from time to time. Your confidence will not always be at an all-time high, but the general trend of your mindset should be up there. And one thing to remember is that confidence that you need in yourself, that confidence that you build doesn't just come from nothing, right? You obviously have to prove to yourself something. You have to trick yourself into thinking that you can do it and use things to trick yourself into thinking that you can do it. So my confidence didn't just come from my 11-week training block, right? 2 weeks before that 11-week training block, I had done a half marathon race in July, and I ran that half marathon on a hilly course in 1 hour, 22 minutes and 55 seconds. That was the moment that I probably started believing in myself even more so that I could run this sub 3. That was a great indicator for myself, and that this race, this goal might actually be possible. And so October 2024, Melbourne Marathon race day comes along, and this time I was calm, but I was both nervous at the same time. I was sitting in the stands of the MCG, which is where you finish, and just sitting there eating some lollies and fully reminiscing about my entire life in a way, in my training in a way. And yeah, I was nervous but calm at the same time. It's quite hard to describe, but there was a bit of me that had quite a bit of peace, quite a bit of assurance that I could run this race. And I recall praying to God just for safety and a good race, and yeah, just to have fun, obviously. And the funny thing is, I wanted to do everything I could to make my life easy on that race day, right? I didn't want to have to think about too many things, and I just wanted to make my life easy, which sounds a bit ironic because running a marathon isn't easy, but I didn't even start with the 3-hour pacer. And that was a mistake, obviously, in itself, but we had to get over that hump nice and early. So what we did was we caught up, we ran the first 5Ks in 20 minutes and 14 seconds, and then I settled in and I found the group, and from there, everything went to plan. My nutrition was on point, my pacing was controlled, and for the first time, I felt in control of the marathon. I felt in control of the race. And by 30Ks, which is once again when the real marathon starts, I knew that I had done it. Now, of course, it still hurt. There were hills, there were moments where I had to dig deep and tell myself mentally that I was gonna break, I wasn't gonna quit, I wasn't gonna let whatever pain which was going through stop me. I told myself that it was all mental. And when the finish line came into view as we ran along the MCG and I saw the clock with a 2 on it, the emotions hit me and I crossed the line 2 hours, 57 minutes and 33 seconds. I had done it. And I think that the first thing I felt was pure relief and joy. I was so relieved that I had just done it. I had put in the work. I had done what was required. And there were just so many emotions. There were tears. My heart was full. I was smiling. My friends and family were in the crowd and they saw me and I saw them. And it was just an amazing moment. And most of all, I knew that I had done this properly, right? It wasn't some fluke. It wasn't just luck. It wasn't because I was naturally athletic or naturally capable. No, it was pure hard work. And I had done the things, I had done the preparation, I had done what I needed to do, I had set myself up for success. And I think that running is one of the most amazing sports because you see that hard work and dedication come to fruition. If you put the work in, you will reap the rewards. Now going from 4:05 to 2:57, that is a big gap in 1 year. And that wasn't just about talent, it was about learning from my failure. It was about respecting the process and respecting the journey and doing the right things consistently, working hard, staying disciplined. And hopefully that's something that you can take into your training as well. If you're chasing your first marathon or trying to break 3 hours or some other goal, right? Whether that's a goal in the 5K, a goal in the 10K, a goal in the half, the full, or whatever distance, I've got a lot more to share, right? So although I'm still new to running, 2 years and a bit, I've got a few things in my toolkit. I'll be breaking down my full training, my race strategy, mistakes I made and everything I do differently. So if you want to follow along, make sure you like and subscribe and stay tuned for the next video. See you later.